Okay. So in this session, we'll start looking at the Java 8 features. So what are the features we have in Java 8? Okay. What are the features which is introduced by the Oracle in Java 8? Okay. Let's see all these features. Okay. So these are the topics we are going to cover. So as part of Java 8, we are going to learn the functional interfaces, default and static methods and interfaces, and Lambda expression, stream API, new date and time API, and concurrency enhancements, collection API improvement. We will be seeing all these topics. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's learn the functional interfaces first. So what exactly a functional interface? So let's see what exactly a functional interface is. So a functional interface is a one which will be having a single abstract method. Okay. A functional interface is one which will be having a single abstract method. Okay. So then what is the single abstract method? A single abstract method is the one which will be having a uh, if an interface will be having a single abstract method, then then that method we used to say it as a single abstract method. So why how to become interface as a functional interface? Okay, so we will be using the HUD functional interface annotation to make an interface as the HUD functional interface. Okay, so here in example I have shown you. So I have taken a bank interface and I make that interface as a HUD functional interface. Okay, if you want to make any interface as a functional interface, what you have to do is simply add the at functional annotation at the top of that interface. So by adding the at functional interface annotation at the top of the interface, so it will be taking the only one abstract method. Okay, it will be taking only one abstract method. If we are trying to give more than one abstract method. Okay, if I are trying to give the more than one abstract method, we will be getting the compilation error. Here I have shown you in an example. Okay, so I have an interface. It's a functional interface. I have added a one method, withdraw method at once at first. So I didn't get any error. So later what I did is I added one more method called deposit. Okay, so that time it is throwing me an error. Okay, saying that we cannot add more than one abstract method in a functional interface. Okay, and the one more property is that so if you are writing a functional interface, you should be having a at least a single abstract method. You should be having at least a single abstract method. If you are not defining any method, any abstract method, then again we are getting an exception. Like you should declare at least a single abstract method in a functional interface. Okay, so any doubts over here up to now? Okay. So now, so we have discussed what is functional interface, what is single abstract method, what is that functional interface, and we have seen the properties as well. Okay. And what we have seen the example as well. So these are the examples of the functional no. So I told you, right? Functional interface. So what is a functional interface? An interface contains only one abstract method that is called functional interface. How you will be writing an interface? You will be using a interface keyword and will be defining the interface name. For example, bank is an interface name. Okay. So here what I'm doing is defining a I'll be defining a method called withdraw. Withdraw. Okay. So this is returning nothing. Public void withdrawal. So now what I'll do is I'll make this interface as a functional interface. How to do that? We will be writing a at functional interface. We'll be writing a at functional interface on top of the this interface name. Now this is fine. Up to here it is fine. Okay, if you try to add one more method, for example, let's say I want to add one more method called deposit. Deposit. Depositor. So in this case, it will throw the functional interface bank will throw an exception because what is the definition I told you about what is the definition I told you regarding the functional interface? A functional interface is the one which will be having only one abstract method. Okay, if you write more than one abstract method, it will throws an exception. Okay, that's what we have seen it. Okay, so if you are not at all writing the, if you are not at all giving the methods as well, if you are not at all giving the abstract methods, but you have defined the, you have defined the interface as a functional interface, then also it will throws an exception. Okay, fine. So now let's go to the next. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, I'm speaking and mute.
No,
Hello.
no, no. No, it's audible.
Okay, fine then. So no. Now next, default methods. So what are the default methods we have? See, functional interface can have a functional interface can have the abstract methods, and they have the default and the static methods also. So why Java, like why the default methods are introduced? So what is there before? See, in Java 7, what we have learned, interface will be having only abstract methods. Okay, so an interface will be having only abstract methods. In Java 8, when it comes to the Java 8, it will be having the abstract methods, default and static methods as well. Okay. So let's see why they have introduced default methods. Okay. See, so what are the default methods? A default method is a one which will be having a method definition inside the interface. So why we need these default methods? Let's say, for example, before Java 7, if we want to add any new method, inside the interface, so you should be adding an abstract method, and you should be overriding this abstract method in your implementation classes as well. Let's say there is a let's say let's think that this is a Java 7, and in Java 7 we have a method called deposit, and now and this deposit method will be no this particular interface is extended or implemented by the multiple classes. Let's say Axis Bank is implementing this one, implements bank, and ICICI Bank also implement this one. Let me copy. ICICI Bank also implements this bank interface. Okay. And let's say Andhra Bank also implement this. Andhra Bank also implement this bank interface. Now, if I want to specifically, if I want to add withdraw only for the Axis Bank. So if I add it over here, definitely, if I add it over here in an interface, as the Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, Andhra Bank, both these three classes are implementing the bank interface, right? Definitely, when you are implementing the back interface, so whatever the methods available in this interface, you should be implementing in your implementation classes, right? So here implementation class are Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, and Andhra Bank, right? Correct, na? So what you have to do? You have to forcefully override these annotation. You have to provide the implementation for the other banks as well. But we need implementation only for the Axis Bank. So because of that only, unnecessarily you don't need to override your unnecessary methods in your implementation class, right? So because of that only, they introduce the concept of default method. What the default method will do, whatever the implementation, whatever the new functionality you want to, or whatever the new feature you want to add it, you just add it in your default. You just use your default method and add it. I'll do one thing. Default. This is syntax of the method default, and I'll write the method, then I'll write the syntax. Default void, and this is a withdraw, and we have an implementation void here. Okay, so you'll write some sys out like withdrawing some amount, something like that. Withdrawing amount. Okay, so now when you need it, you directly make a call to that method. It will definitely this bank, whatever the details, when you are implementing the bank interface, whatever there in the bank interface, all these details will be coming to your Axis Bank, right? So Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, and Andhra Bank. Okay, you are not no need to override anything. Okay, you don't need to override anything. So as you have directly provided the implementation over here itself. Okay, fine. A functional interface can contain the default method and the static method as well. So as we have the default method, so what is the need of going for the static method? Okay. So the default method we can override. If you want to override this default method, you can override in any one of your implementation classes. In every implementation class also you can override it. There is no problem in it. Okay. But if you don't want to override your, implementation, your implemented method, then what you have to do is you have to go for the static method. So how the static method will be look like? There is a static keyword, and we have to use a method name. Let's say I'll be using the different method now. Hey, Dalo say Dala mental. Monkey. Okay.
ऊपर नहीं है तुमने बाहर बैठा पलंग पलंग डालने को किचन
Okay, fine. So, so I was speaking about the default and static method, right? So I've already discussed about the default method. Now we are like discussing about the static method. So when you have to go for static method, so if you don't want to, by default, these, whatever the methods which are there in the, your interface, by default, all these methods will be inherited to your implementation classes. Okay, all these implementation classes. Now, you can override, like you can override that is abstract method, and you can override the default method as well. But if you don't want to override your static method, then you have to use the static method, because the default methods can be overridden by their implementation classes. Okay, fine. So that's the main difference between the default and static method. Okay. Yeah. So I'll be sharing the notes regarding this one. So